my name's Gray, this is Consoletronix. How's everybody doing out there? Because as the UK has recently gone through a bit of a heat wave, with many people over here seemingly forgetting that during the summer months it gets hot, but I thought it was good enough reason for me also to bring the heat, as it were, with a look at a selection of coin-op sizzlers from once industry super heavyweights SNK, with my look at SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1 for the PS2. We had to open the show with the shameless Street Fighter 2 ripoff that put SNK on the map. Previous to this, the company was known for a couple of tasty shooters such as Ikari Warriors and Guerrilla War, and not much else. But it was Fatal Fury that would set SNK on the path that would define them as the studio who specialised in one-on-one beat-em-ups. Pretty basic by today's standards, and I've never been able to pull off Street Fighter 2 style moves on a PS2 controller at will. A nice addition though, but why Fatal Fury 1 and not a later, more finely tuned entry? Having already aired my thoughts on the entire Sengoku saga a few videos back, I won't waste your time retreading old ground with this limited but fun Final Fight clone, that like Fatal Fury before it at least tried to differentiate itself from the pack with a couple of nifty features. Fatal Fury had plane shifting, but Sengoku let you switch between 3 different characters largely on the fly. Coupled with this unique mix of the modern and the supernatural, gives Sengoku and its superior sequels a certain side-scrolling charm. Well, it's come to this, hasn't it? I am, for the first time ever, playing a golf game. You know, it's always bamboozled me why golf, both as a video game genre and as a physical activity, is so bloody popular. Maybe it's akin to fishing, in which the goal is to relax and anything else is a bonus. As for me, I'd much rather shoot some Germans. And thankfully, Big Daddy SNK has just the tonic, with a welcome return to their shoot-em-up roots with Shock Troopers, one of the lesser known titles outside the Neo Geo stables, although that may have more to do with the fact that it didn't see release in the arcades until 1997, by which time the old school run and gun was very much consigned to history. But if like me you have an itchy trigger finger that only a retro gun-toting, top-down, one-man army can scratch, then this, my lad, is the game for you.
Round 1. Fight.
While Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat are held up as the exemplars of 16-bit beat-em-ups, the SNK brand struggled to bring its arcade and Neo Geo clout to either the Mega Drive or SNES. True, the first Art of Fighting was more graphical gimmicks than gameplay, but like Fatal Fury, its sequels would perfect the fisticuff formula. Sadly though, the damage to its reputation within the wider gaming congregation was done, but the original arcade, Neo Geo and more recent Switch ports are still worth checking out. Shoot-em-ups and beat-em-ups may have been SNK's bread and butter, but the few platformers they had did stand out, and when I tell you that Magician Lord can be best described as a cross between Shadow of the Beast and Castlevania, you'll wonder why you've not tried it sooner. But for all its cult status as a hidden gem, it can rub some the wrong way. I myself bounced off it when I got it for my Neo Geo CD, but after coming back to it a little later, I fell in love with it. Far from perfect and at times needlessly difficult, but a fun and engaging experience. If SNK had one deficiency as a company, it would have to be its image as an exclusively hardcore gamers studio. Whether we're talking about its vast library of beat-em-ups, or the price tag attached to its home systems. But it seems that they also had their ear to the street, as they did try to court the normies to their side, with King of Monsters, which is also one of the very few SNK games that had a decent 16-bit port, as I owned the Mega Drive version as a kid and loved it. Simple and repetitive it may be, but with 2 players, a real hoot. Try it. Oh, flippin' heck, another sports game. And baseball at that? Oh boy. But as there's only 15 games on the disc, or 16 if you count the unlockable World Heroes, I may as well show them all. Besides, I played rounders at school once, I'm sure that'll stand me in good stead. Oh crap! 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 Oh, crap! Crap! Ugh, crap! Ugh, crap! Oh, finally, thank God I hit the fucking thing! Crap! Alright, so I can't dazzle you with my athletic ability, so how about a bit of trivia then? Do you know why baseball isn't played in China? It's because they ate all the bats. And no, that joke wasn't a last resort. This is Last Resort, the bastard offspring of R-Type, developed for the Neo Geo hardware by former IREM staff who clearly felt their shoot-em-up passions were being extinguished in the chaos of IREM's collapse in the early 90s. But with an SNK's embrace, they would craft a shoot-em-up that thrilled hardcore shooter fans both then and even now. Its difficulty, however, meant it was never going to emulate its more illustrious ancestor of R-Type and go mainstream. But if you get a chance, try it. The soundtrack alone is worth the price. Next we come to what is arguably the weakest title in the collection, Burning Fight. But is it a lost cause or the worst scrolling fighter I've ever played? Absolutely not. Is it bad? Oh my god, yes. I'm not putting my neck on the block for this one. But in the overall scheme of things, you could do a hell of a lot worse. King of Fighters 95 on the Saturn, which came bundled with a RAM cartridge, was my first exposure to a series I would very quickly take to my heart. An annual company-wide crossover featuring the best characters from Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and even older arcade hits like Ikari Warriors, in a 3-on-3 team-based one-on-one brawler of unequaled majesty. Even this, the original 94 release, is still a true classic, although I'm laying the blame squarely at my PS2 controller as to why I failed to win a single bloody match. I don't believe this. A next one? Just how many sports games did they have, for crying out loud? This is... Actually, what is this called again? Super Sidekicks 3? Why do all the sports games have their latest versions on this disc, but every other game the first? Overall, it's a more arcadey in tone representation of the greatest sport on earth. But I rage quit after my calamitous defending kept costing me the game. But it seems like a laugh with 2 players.
Metal Slug.
Well now folks, I have good news and bad news. The good news is the final 3 games I'm going to show aren't just the best games on the SNK roster, but are among some of the best I have ever played. The bad news is I have so little time to talk about them. Metal Slug here really has become the poster child franchise for SNK, with the latest installment, Metal Slug Code J/Awakening, setting tongues wagging the world over. But don't underestimate the quality of the original or its sequels. They are as close to perfect as a run and gun platformer can get. I mentioned earlier that platformers were few and far between on Neo Geo platforms, but they were better than you thought. Case in point, Top Hunter, Roddy and Cathy looks like just another in a long list of average at best 16-bit platformers, right? Wrong. This one quickly became a favourite even though I only bought it to pad out my Neo Geo CD collection. It always gave me Rise-Star vibes, and not just because it's still criminally underrated, but for how you dispatch enemies. A great game that you need to play. Way back in the mid-90s, I made a bold statement. I said Samurai Showdown, or Samurai Spirits as it's known in Japan, was better than Street Fighter 2. All my friends laughed and cussed me out, but after all these years and knowing what I know now, I stand by that statement. Samurai Showdown is incredible. It really does feel like all the Fatal Furies and Art of Fightings that came before it coalesced into a near perfect 2D beat 'em up. Fantastic characters, gameplay, special moves, and even a decent Mega Drive and SNES ports. The first couple of sequels, or at least the first 4 games, are brilliant. The dozens of others that have followed since are best avoided, but the very first title in the franchise is still a cracker. Check it out if you haven't already. So my name's Gray, you've been watching my SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1 review, a collection also available for PSP and the Wii. But rather than release a Volume 2, SNK would put out a Volume 0 containing older, more obscure arcade titles from the 80s exclusively for the PSP. But if you'd like to see me cover that one, and trust me, I've played it, it'd be worth a watch, let me know in the comment section down below. So until the next time, sayonara.